The repair bay echoed with the hiss of hydraulics as Miles wiped grease from his calloused hands, squinting up at the massive vessel that had crashed just beyond the settlement's perimeter. 3 days it had been sitting there, a hulking silhouette against Epsilon Station's perpetual twilight, and nobody had dared approach it. Nobody except him. "Dad, the hull breach is bigger than I thought," Iris called from somewhere beneath the ship's underbelly, her voice muffled by the forest of landing struts. "We're going to need the industrial welder." Miles smiled despite himself. His daughter was only 16, but she had inherited his gift for reading machines like others read books. "Already got it warming up, kiddo. Just don't tell your mother we're doing this." Mom's 3 systems away on the colony transport. Iris emerged, her dark hair tied back, coveralls already stained with alien lubricants. Besides, someone's got to help whoever's in there. That was Iris, always thinking of others first, even when others meant potentially dangerous extraterrestrials. The ship's design was unlike anything in the local databases. Smooth obsidian plating interrupted by geometric patterns that seemed to shift in the corner of one's vision. Engines that hummed with a frequency that made Miles's teeth ache. The airlock had been jammed open since the crash. Miles had expected resistance, maybe even weapons fire, when they'd first approached. Instead, they'd found only silence and a trail of violet fluid leading deeper into the ship's corridors. "Hand me the plasma torch," Miles said, examining the twisted metal where the hull had buckled. "We'll cut our way to the power core first, get her systems online. Then we can worry about—" A sound stopped him cold. Footsteps. Heavy ones. The alien emerged from the shadows of her own ship like a mountain coming to life. She stood easily 9 feet tall, her body covered in interlocking plates of natural armor that gleamed like polished stone. Her arms hung at her sides, each ending in 3-fingered hands that could probably crush a human skull like an egg. Her face was angular, almost reptilian, with eyes that burned like molten copper. Iris dropped her tools. Miles stepped protectively in front of his daughter, though he knew the gesture was laughable against such a being. "You are." The alien's voice resonated from somewhere deep in her chest, the translator chip struggling to render the sounds into comprehensible language. "Repairing my vessel." It wasn't a question. Miles swallowed hard. "Yes, we saw you crash. Thought you might need help." Those burning eyes studied them with an intensity that made Miles feel like a specimen under glass. The alien tilted her head, a gesture that seemed almost curious. "You are human." "That's right," Iris said, stepping out from behind her father despite his warning hand. "I'm Iris. This is my dad, Miles. Are you hurt?" The alien made a sound that might have been laughter, though it resembled more the grinding of tectonic plates. "Hurt? Yes. My regeneration protocols are compromised." She gestured to her side, where violet blood had dried in crystalline formations along a deep gash in her armor. "I am Korthzura. My name would not translate well to your limited phonetic range." "We can help with that too," Iris said, already pulling out the medical scanner from their toolkit. "If you'll let us." Korthzura's eyes narrowed. "Why?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Miles had asked himself the same thing when he'd first seen the crashed ship. The smart play would have been to report it to the station authorities, let them handle it. But Epsilon Station's authorities were more interested in salvage rights than rescue operations. "Because you need help," Miles said simply. "And we can give it. That's reason enough, isn't it?" The alien stared at them for a long moment. Then, slowly, she lowered herself onto the deck with a thud that shook the floor plates. "I have fought across 17 sectors," Korthzara said quietly. "I have ended wars and started them. I have killed beings whose names would turn your blood to ice. And yet," she gestured at her ship, at her wounds, "I find myself dependent on the mercy of 2 small, fragile creatures I could destroy without effort." "But you won't," Iris said confidently, already scanning the wound with her medical equipment. "Because you're not a monster. Just someone who needs help." Miles wondered at his daughter's fearlessness, even as he moved to resume working on the ship's hull. Korthzara's eyes followed Iris as she worked, treating the massive alien with the same matter-of-fact care she'd show to any injured creature. "The station masters will come looking eventually," Korthzara said. "When they discover who I am, what I do, they will try to claim bounties. Many would pay well for my capture." "Then we'd better work fast," Miles replied, firing up the plasma torch. The blue flame cast dancing shadows across the repair bay. How quickly can you fly once we get main power restored? With functioning engines? Immediate departure is possible. Korthzara watched as Iris carefully cleaned her wound, applying a synthetic skin patch with steady hands. You truly do not know who I am. Does it matter? Iris asked. The alien's laugh rumbled again, softer this time. No, perhaps it does not. She looked between the two humans, father and daughter working with practiced synchronicity to repair her vessel, asking nothing in return. I am called the Black Star in some languages, the Ender in others. I am a mercenary, child. I sell death to the highest bidder. Iris paused in her work, meeting those molten copper eyes without flinching. Right now, you're just someone who crashed and needs help. We'll worry about the rest later. Miles allowed himself a small smile as he cut through another section of twisted hull plating. His daughter had a talent for seeing past labels to the being underneath. Sometimes he thought it was her greatest gift, even greater than her mechanical aptitude. Outside, the first lights of dawn began to paint Epsilon Station's sky in shades of amber and rose. They had perhaps 6 hours before the authorities made their rounds. 6 hours to get a legendary mercenary ship flight-worthy and avoid whatever chaos would surely follow if her presence became known. It should have been impossible. But as Miles watched Iris work fearlessly beside an alien warrior who could end them both without breaking a sweat, he thought maybe impossible was just another word for something they hadn't figured out yet. Dad? Iris called. I'm going to need the quantum wrench. The portside stabilizer is completely shot. On it, Miles replied. Already reaching for the tool, Korthzara watched them work, and for the first time in what might have been centuries, allowed herself to feel something approaching gratitude. These small, fragile humans with their stubborn kindness, they would never understand what they had done this day, reaching out to help a being the galaxy feared. But perhaps, she thought, that was precisely why they had done it. The story of the Black Star had been written in blood and fire across a dozen star systems. But this chapter, this small moment of unexpected mercy, would be something different entirely. And as the morning light grew stronger, 3 beings worked together in the repair bay. A mechanic, his daughter, and a legend who had forgotten what it meant to be helped without expectation of reward.